With the possibility of not having a farm bill passed by the September 30th deadline, what is the USDA doing to maybe make some preparations?
Well, we still obviously hold out hope until the clock strikes midnight September 30th. It's a little concerning that the House has indicated that they're actually going to leave early, that they're not going to work the full number of days that they had indicated they were going to work, but we're still going to hold out hope that something happens the next couple of days to change the minds of the leaders. Look, this is a really important time for rural America. As I said in there, there's a tremendous amount of momentum, record income, unemployment coming down, record exports, record expansion of conservation and local and regional food systems and biofuel and bioproduct production. We don't want that momentum to stall. We at USDA will continue to operate the programs that we have the authority to operate, but they are limited. And we'll continue to express concern for our livestock producers, our dairy producers, and our specialty crop producers who do not have the benefit of crop insurance. One of the things that a Food, Farm, and Jobs bill could do is revive the disaster programs from the 2008 Farm Bill that were allowed to expire by Congress, and in fact put in place a new opportunity for dairy that could provide additional support at a time it's most needed. We're going to continue to work as best we can to provide as much assistance as we can as a result of the drought. We've been very aggressive with the tools that we have, but frankly our tools are limited, absent a Food, Farm, and Jobs bill getting passed. And here's my deep concern, that there is a hidden agenda of sorts. There's been a lot of conversation about nutrition assistance programs. What isn't being discussed is that some members of the House want even steeper cuts to the farm programs themselves. In the Ryan budget that was passed, it was a $50 billion reduction in commodity, conservation, and crop insurance provisions. And I fear that that is really the goal here, is to get this wrapped up into a much larger discussion about deficit reduction, tax policy, and then make the case that farm programs and the safety net have to be cut even further. Agriculture needs to do its part for deficit reduction, but it shouldn't be called upon to do more than its part.
Are you saying that drought recovery aid and storm recovery aid, would those be affected if this doesn't pass?
Absolutely, because right now we do not have the authority to provide any kind of cash assistance to livestock producers who've lost livestock or forage. We can't provide any additional assistance under the MILC program for dairy producers because that expires on September 30th. There is no protection other than the NAP for specialty crops. So our tools are quite limited. And even if there was an extension of the existing bill, it wouldn't necessarily result in an extension of the disaster programs because they were allowed to expire last year. And if there's an extension of the MILC program, if it's extended as of September, the payments to producers will be minimal because because of the 2008 bill, they've been adjusted downward this month to the point where they're hardly any help at all. So there's really a demand and need for action. And folks in rural America need to understand what's happening here is that there is a small group of folks who are very intent on substantially reducing the commitment to rural America through a variety of means, nutrition assistance programs and farm programs, in order to protect other departments of government or to fund tax cuts.
Mr. Secretary, would a limited extension of the Farm Bill be acceptable, say a 3 or 6 month extension?
Well, here's the problem. I don't know what that means. I know what you said, but I don't know if that 3-month extension includes the MILC program as it is in September this year, in which case it's no help at all to dairy, or whether it's prior to September. Does the 3-month extension revive the disaster programs for livestock that were allowed to expire? I don't know the answer to that. I certainly don't know what additional help is provided to specialty crop producers. And what does the 3-month extension do but put you right smack dab in the middle of sequester, tax policy, and deficit reduction discussions, which feeds my concern and my suspicion that what this is really about is substantially reducing the commitment to rural America. Again, rural America is doing its part. We reduced crop insurance subsidies by $6 billion. Most of that went to deficit reduction. The Senate Food, Farm, and Jobs bill reduced the cost of the program by $23 billion, deficit reduction. The House Ag Committee bill talked about reductions in the neighborhood of $33 billion, deficit reduction. What we're talking about now is a plan reflected in the Ryan budget for $184 billion of cuts. $134 billion on nutrition assistance and $50 billion on the commodity, crop insurance, and conservation programs. That's a far cry from 33 or 23, and it will directly affect farm income because 14 cents of every nutrition dollar goes in a farmer's pocket eventually, and it clearly compromises the safety net for farmers. Why are we doing this? Why is it necessary for us to go that deep in farm programs? Is it because we don't want the Defense Department to have to bear any cut? Is there anyone in America that doesn't think that the Defense Department couldn't find some efficiency? Not a single dollar? Or is it because we just simply do not want to raise taxes on folks who have made a very great amount of money, $1 million or more, in an economy where a lot of us have been struggling, but they have done really well? Why do we have to cut rural America so deeply? Why do they have to spend disproportionately? That's the question.
Has the administration been reaching out behind the scenes to any of the House leaders to get any movement on the Farm Bill? What has been taking place?
We've encouraged the discharge petition that's on the floor that would compel this bill to come up for a vote and encourage folks to sign it. And over 50 members in a bipartisan way have signed it. We continue to encourage this bill to come up and continue to ask the question, why isn't it coming up? We're told there's not enough time. Not enough time, you're leaving early. We're told there aren't enough votes. How do we know that? How do you know there are not enough votes? Until you put it up on the board. I guarantee you put it up on the board. I was talking to members of Congress in there. There's some things about the Farm Bill I don't like. I'm going to vote for it. Of course they're going to vote for it. It's not going up on the board because there's a plan to substantially reduce the commitment to rural America. And I'm not going to let that go down without a fight, neither is the president.
How much do you think the presidential election is weighing on this?
I don't know about that. I just know that the Ryan budget called for steeper cuts, and folks, they claim they don't have the votes because people want to cut more deeper. And I think it's pretty hard to have that conversation before an election, and maybe it's, but that's the kind of conversation you should have before an election. If you want deeper cuts, then you should be able to go out and tell the people this is what you want and this is why you want it. You should be able to explain the reason why rural America has to bear a disproportionate amount is because we don't want the Defense Department to have any cuts, or we want to have this tax cut or this tax credit funded. Fair enough, then people can make a decision. But to suggest you don't have the time when you're leaving early? Seriously? And to suggest you don't have the votes when you haven't put it up on the board to determine whether you have the votes or not?